The maid found her unconscious on the bedroom floor. That is how close Sharon Osbourne came to not surviving the story you are about to hear. Not the cancer diagnosis. Not the 4 decades of addiction crises and overdoses and chaos that came with loving Ozzy Osbourne. Not the years of financial and professional warfare that are standard practice in the music industry. The thing that nearly killed Sharon Osbourne, the woman who rebuilt a broken rock star from nothing and turned him back into a legend, was 4 days in May of 2016, a handful of pills, and one name. Michelle Pugh. And what Sharon said when she finally spoke about it makes you go back and look at every public appearance, every smile, every composed television interview from that period and wonder exactly how long the gap existed between what she was letting the world see and what was actually true. Sharon gave up everything for Ozzy. Not metaphorically. Not in the way people say they gave up everything and mean they made some difficult compromises. She gave up her family. Her name. Her father. When she chose Ozzy in 1979, Don Arden, the man the music industry called the Al Capone of pop, told his daughter she was dead to him. And he meant it. He did not speak to her for years. Sharon walked away from the only world she had ever known to stand beside a man the rest of that world had already written off. Because that is exactly what Ozzy was in 1979. Fired from Black Sabbath. Broke. Addicted to everything. His own bandmates could no longer function around him. Promoters would not return calls. The industry had moved on. Everyone had decided the story of Ozzy Osbourne was over. Everyone except Sharon. Sharon understood precisely what she was choosing. Every red flag was visible. Every warning sign was documented. She saw all of it and chose him anyway, not out of naivety, but out of a conviction that she was the only person capable of doing what needed to be done. She booked shows when no promoter would answer. She cleaned up messes that would have ended careers before they started. She sat with him through withdrawals so brutal they would have broken most people and simply refused to leave. She kept him alive through overdoses, through relapses, through nights when she genuinely did not know if he would wake up. And it worked. On July 4th, 1982, Sharon Arden became Sharon Osbourne. She was 29 years old. For 4 years, Sharon sat in that chair. Relaxed. Trusted. And for Ozzy, meanwhile, checked himself into treatment for sex addiction. For Sharon, that offered what she needed most at that moment. Not an excuse, but an explanation. A framework for behavior that had otherwise felt inexplicable from a man she thought she had understood completely. By the end of the summer of 2016, Sharon took him back. In May of 2017, they renewed their vows in Las Vegas. The world could not understand it. But Sharon understood it precisely. She said it herself, in 2020, "I will never fully trust him again. But I love him and he needs me." That sentence is worth sitting with. Not because it is forgiving, it is explicitly not forgiving, but because it is so precise about what the decision actually was. Sharon did not stay because she had no options. She could have walked away with hundreds of millions of dollars and not a single voice in the country would have condemned her. Every entertainment lawyer in California would have taken that case by the end of the same phone call. Every talk show would have booked her. Every magazine would have published her story. The world was waiting to celebrate her for leaving. She looked at 40 years of marriage, 3 children, and an empire she had built with her own hands, and she decided, this is mine. I am not giving it up because of Michelle Pugh. That is not forgiveness. That is not weakness. That is a woman who has spent 40 years deciding what she will and will not surrender, and making that decision one final time. In February of 2019, Ozzy was diagnosed with Parkinson's disease. The man who had betrayed her now needed her more than at any other point in their marriage. Sharon became his primary caregiver. She managed his medical appointments, his treatments, the daily realities of a degenerative disease that was progressively taking away his independence. The same hands that had rebuilt his career from wreckage were now helping him navigate the disease that was dismantling him. On July 5, 2025, Sharon helped Ozzy onto a stage in Birmingham for a Black Sabbath reunion concert. Doctors had told her he might not survive the physical demands of a live performance. She put him on that stage anyway. Because that was who Ozzy was. And because she had always known precisely who she was in relation to that man. 17 days later, on July 22, 2025, Ozzy Osbourne died. He was 76 years old. Sharon was by his side. The man who had cheated on her for 4 years spent his final years completely dependent on her for everything. And she never left. And Michelle Pugh? Gone. She got her interviews. She got her headlines. She got to call him the greatest love of her life on television, with the cameras running and the world watching. And then she disappeared. She was not there when the Parkinson's diagnosis came. She was not there for the bad days, the treatment, the physical deterioration. She was not there when his body started failing. She was not there when he died. Because Michelle never wanted the man. Michelle wanted the spotlight. And once the spotlight moved on, so did Michelle. Sharon wanted the man. The broken, addicted, impossible, magnificent man that nobody else believed in. And Sharon got to hold his hand on the last day of his life. Sharon is 73 now. When she looks back at those 4 days in May of 2016, the pills, the hospital, the 3 days she cannot account for, she is clear about exactly one thing. She says it simply, I just could not bear it. But she did survive. And she is still here. 40 years. 3 children. 1 affair that nearly killed her. 1 disease that made her his caregiver until the final morning. And Sharon Osbourne is still standing. Still running the empire she built. Still the one who stayed when leaving would have been celebrated. Still the one whose hand was the last thing he held. Michelle Pugh called Ozzy Osbourne the greatest love of her life. But Sharon Osbourne is the only one who was there for all of it. The rebuilding and the relapses. The empire and the betrayal. The diagnosis and the last concert and the last breath. Sharon never once publicly blamed Michelle. She did not have to. Michelle's silence since 2016 has been doing it for her. The person who seemed to lose everything in the summer of 2016 turned out to be the person who kept everything that actually mattered. Was Sharon's decision to stay an act of strength, or was it the final cost of 40 years of being the one who could never afford to let go? And do you think Michelle Pugh, watching all of it from the distance she created, understands now what she actually walked away from? Share your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to like and subscribe to our channel. For more interesting stories like this, be sure to click on the next video that pops up on your screen. You never know what you'll discover next.